What is going on, all you card collecting maniacs? This is Ryan, the 40-year-old collector. So today we're going to be looking for value in vintage. So modern prices are coming down. Vintage is holding pretty steady. So we're going to use my 20 years of PSA collecting experience and my sleuth skills to see if we can't find some cards out there that are going to make us feel really good about the purchases that we make today and hopefully a little richer in the future. So we're going to be looking at population reports, recent auction endings. We're going to be looking at some comparables. Lots of cool stuff to go after in this video. So let's talk about it right now. All right, now it's time for the fun stuff. Let's look at some cards. So, as I said earlier, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've done it in up markets, I've done it in down markets, I've done it when I've had a couple extra nickels to rub together, and I've done it when things have been really, really tight. And the way I analyze cards and the way that I look at the market and the way that I find value has never been any different. It's always the same. So, I'm excited to share that process with you guys, and let's get into it. So, the very first thing that we're going to look at here is we're going to look at some comparable cards, okay? So if you look at these three cards, 1971 tops, 1968 tops, 1972 tops, right? Pretty similar across the board. All three of these are quarterback cards, all right? All of these are NFL Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and these are their rookie cards. So let's look at the hardware and some accomplishments, right? I got 4 Super Bowls and 2 guys with 2 Super Bowls each. Pretty fair. 2 of them are going to be PSA 7s, and then that 1968 card, I actually compared to PSA 8. So the oldest card is the highest grade. Very interesting here. And then the population report. So this is where it really, really starts to come together, okay? So you look at the age of the card, you look at the grade of the card, you look at the population report, you'll see that the 71 and 72 are super similar, right? Both are in the mid to high 700 population and a grade of 7. Both have around 520 graded higher. But then when we look at the 1968 tops, it's what you would expect because it's a higher grade. The PSA 8, you see it only has a pop 294. You see there's only 76 higher. So looking at all three of these cards, if I was just blindly looking at it as I am now, one would assume in my mind, like the 1968 tops, it's older, it's a higher grade, has a smaller population, seems like all other things are pretty equal. My guess would be that card is the highest in value. That's one I'd expect to pay a premium for. And then the other two should be really, really comparable. So let's see. Now, when we look at prices, I'm going to tell you right now, I looked at the last 4 eBay auctions that ended. So this does not include stuff like heritage auctions or PWCC auctions. Any of those auction houses aren't in this. It also doesn't include any buy it now sales. So buy it now sales can skew things one way or the other. Sometimes somebody puts a great card up for really, really cheap and it gets snagged up like that in a buy it now. And on the other side, sometimes they put it really high and somebody really wants to fill the card in their collection, so they go after it. So I look at auction prices on eBay. I don't think there's any greater indication of the price of a card than that is the actual market value. So let's look at what these cards have sold for in their last 4 auctions. I was surprised when I did this. Now again, we've got to put a face to all of these stats, but the 1968 tops, the higher grade, the lower population actually had the lowest average price at $382 per sale. Okay. The 1972 tops came in at $521, and the 1971 tops came in at a whopping $867, almost $900. So a big gap from the 72 to the 71 card. Who are we looking at here? 3 big name guys, right? Terry Bradshaw, he was the highest. He's still very active in the sports community. He's a commentator. You know, he does the pre-games. He's funny. He's in the news all the time. So Terry Bradshaw is top of mind, probably why his card has a premium. Bob Greasy was on the low end. You've heard me talk about this before in other videos. The market that you play in matters. The Steelers, the Cowboys, like those are big time football markets. There's big followings for both of those teams. Probably not as much for the Miami Dolphins. Believe it or not, statistically, the Dallas Cowboys are the most popular team in America. It is what it is. Opinions aside, the fact is they're the most popular team in America. So the Terry Bradshaw card, that's great. I'm personally not going to go out and chase a Terry Bradshaw PSA 7 for almost $900 right now. I just don't think that that's a great market price. However, I have no problem going after a Roger Staubach in a PSA 7 for around $500 because I know that the value's there for it to actually get to Terry Bradshaw level. I think $500 for a PSA 7 Roger Staubach right now is a great investment. I also think that the 1968 tops Bob Greasy in a PSA 8, That is a beautiful card. I have that card in my collection at $380 and change. Pop 294, only 76 higher. I think that is a great card to go after right now. And now another thing I want to say, I talked about how the auctions are. These cards don't always come up for auction frequently. So the Bob Greasy, there was only one that auctioned off in 2022. The 3 other ones were from 2021. So think about that. The market was higher in 2020 and 2021 than it is now. Yet the price for the auction for that card in 2022 was comparable to the ones in 2021. It just goes to show you that even though the rest of the market is coming down, these vintage cards of all-time greats in high grade, they're holding their value. Bob Greasy, I'd buy that any day. Roger Staubach, I'd buy that any day. Terry Bradshaw, I have it in my collection. I don't think I'd go after it for $900 right now, but it's still a great card. Next, we're going to do another comparison. This time, we're going to look at running backs. Okay, again, here's a 1-for-1, 1969 tops, 1970 tops. As I said, both running backs. One of these guys has 2 Super Bowl championships, and the other guy has none. Both of these are going to be PSA 8. And when you look at the population, the 1969, the older card, has a smaller pop. Pop 543 and an 8. There's only 76 higher. When you look at the 70 card, 638 in that pop 8, and then 139 higher. So that's a big difference. There's only almost twice as many higher for that 70 tops versus that 1969. So let's look at the prices. $330 for the 69 card and $565 for that 1970. All right, what are the face behind the stats? Larry Zonka and O.J. Simpson. I was astonished to find that Larry Zonka is still in the 330 range. If you looked at the previous slide, you could get the Bob Greasy and the Larry Zonka, the fullback and the quarterback for that great Dolphins dynasty, the only undefeated team in NFL history. You can pick up both of their cards, probably if you play your cards right, for about $650, $675 in PSA 8. Those are iconic cards from great players on an iconic team. I think they're great buys. O.J. Simpson, his card commands a premium. He's had, I think, the understatement of 2022 would be to say he has had some off-field trouble since his retirement, yet his card still retains a strong value. I don't think it's going to appreciate a ton over the years. It's going to go up. It'll go up with the broader market, but I just don't see it popping off like crazy. So I don't know if I'd be outspending $600 on an O.J. Simpson PSA 8, but I certainly wouldn't mind spending $300 and change on a Larry Zonka. I can also tell you those red borders and that blue jersey on that card really, really pop. We're buying the card, not the slab. The slab just confirms that the card is great. And I'm telling you, this is a beautiful, beautiful card. So that Larry Zonka is a great buy right now in my mind. Here we go. Let's go into the next one. And on this next slide, instead of doing comparisons, I just brought up 3 cards from the vintage era that I think are really, really attractive right now at their population, at their age, and at their price point. So we're going to go over them one by one. Very first one right here. Bobby Mitchell from 1959. So Bobby Mitchell joined the Browns right about when Jim Brown did. He came a little bit after, but they played together for a couple years. Unfortunately for Bobby Mitchell, he ended up leaving and going to the Redskins before they got their first championship there in Cleveland. So he doesn't have any Super Bowl wins. But when you read about the history of him, he was lightning fast and he was able to juke people out of their jock straps. Like the guy was just unbelievable with the ball in his hand. This card is a 1959, so we're talking about, a 60-year-old card here, 60-plus-year-old card, and a PSA 8. Pop 296 and only 66 higher. That is a real attractive population rate right there. You can go on eBay right now, today. I just looked it up, and you can buy this card for $149.99 with free shipping. $150. I have a 7 in my collection. It's taking everything in my power not to go and buy that 8. Well, I actually might go buy that 8, but anyways. Great card, great value. You can go and buy it right now. I think it's a steal on eBay at $150. This card will appreciate in time. I guarantee it. Jim Taylor. Oh my gosh, Jim Taylor. Another guy from the exact same set, that 1959 tops. He was a tailback for Vince Lombardi in those dynasty years of the Packers. Got 3 Super Bowls with him. Similar population here, right? Pop 8, or so in the PSA 8, there's a pop of 223, but the big difference is the higher. There's only 29 higher compared to the 66 for the Bobby Mitchell. So an 8, unless you got really deep pockets, is probably about as high as you're going to go. Sometimes when I'm collecting, I look at, hey, is this the highest card that I can reasonably afford? And if it is, and if it's at an attractive price, I'm going to buy it because it's something I'm going to hold forever. That's how I feel about this Jim Taylor PSA 8. A great quote that I heard about Jim Taylor, and this is from Vince Lombardi. You know, Jim Taylor played in the era of Jim Brown, and they were compared a lot. He said, Jim Brown will give you his leg and take it away, you know, referring to his elusiveness. And he said, Jim Taylor will give you his leg and ram it through your chest. Jim Taylor was tough. He was hard-nosed. He was a throwback. Great guy, great card. If you can find an 8 for $165, do it all day. So the other one right here is Don Maynard. You know, Don Maynard didn't start off with a crazy career, but eventually once Joe Namath joined the Jets, this says New York Titans, but they eventually switched their names to the Jets. Those two had an amazing career. They were good friends, and they had this connectivity. They put up big numbers. So this is a 1961 Fleer. I don't know why. I think it's really cool that it's a Fleer back in the era when everything was Topps or Bowman. He was the first person to ever get 10,000 receiving yards. This is a PSA 8, and look at the population report for this PSA 8. Pop 177 with only 66 higher. So the population of the 8 is lower. The population higher is a little bit more than some of the other cards. It's right there in line with Bobby Mitchell. But again, a beautiful card that you can get for $150 in a PSA 8. These old cards that you can pick up in PSA 8 are beautiful. Big name players, big time cards. I'd go after them in a heartbeat. I think there's a ton of value there. All right. And then I always have to do a little modern love. I'm not going to go into this card because if you follow my channel, I've talked about this card, I think, in 3 different videos. I think this is one of the most undervalued cards in the entire hobby right now. Aaron Donald, 2014 Topps Chrome. Guy's got 3 Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. He won a Super Bowl. This is a PSA 10, 418, obviously none higher. You can pick this card up for $65. If you don't have it, do it now, today. Stop the video. Actually, don't stop the video. Go pick it up. It's a good point to say, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and subscribe. I love the fact that I do this research. I'd love to share this with as many people as possible. I think an educated collecting group is going to be the best for the hobby in the long run. So I do my best to share my 2 cents. The more likes, the more shares that I get, the more subscribers that I have, the more people who will get to see this. So that's really the point of asking for subscriptions and likes. So back to Aaron Donald, though. Great card. If you can, go out and pick it up. I think it's an absolute steal right now. Next one I've talked about in the past is this Julio Jones rookie card. He was injured last year. He's fighting through injuries this year. He's really fallen off the radar. At the end of the day, he's an all-time great at wide receiver. Twice he led the league in receptions. He has 1 Super Bowl appearance. This is a PSA 10. It's only a Pop 156. A PSA 10 Hall of Famer, Pop 156, and you can get it for about $65 right now. If you're looking to add some modern, if you're looking to add some future Hall of Famers, go get this card today. And the next one, this is just, we should be arrested for where this price is right now. Like, the whole hobby should be ashamed. So this is a Khalil Mack rookie card. This guy, he's at, I think, 82 sacks, maybe 85 by now. Anyways, he's knocking on the door of that coveted 100 sack mark for a career. I think he's going to get there no problem, barring any unforeseen injury or something crazy happen. You know, he was a Defensive Player of the Year. He's got 6 Pro Bowls. He's got 3 All-Pros. This is a PSA 10. It's a Pop 564. The average of the last 4 auctions of this is $26. Buy the card. Or, even better, buy it for a kid. You want to get somebody into collecting. You want to give them something that's going to appreciate in value over time. It's a beautiful card. It's a player who's playing nowadays. They can watch him on Sundays. Super affordable price point. Go out and get this card. Get 2. I own 2. I got 1 for myself, and I got 1 that I'm going to give away. So, do the same. Great card. Love to share it. So that's what I got today. I'm going to do some more sequences like this. I think that there's a lot of value in talking about cards that we should be going out there and getting right now. There's a lot of noise in the hobby, a lot of people who are trying to sensationalize it. So we as collectors, we got to figure out what we're going to go after, and we really got to focus on it. So if you enjoyed this video, I've got a couple other ones. I'm going to link one of them right up here that you can go after and check. And as always, happy collecting and have an awesome day. Thanks, everyone.